Here we go. All right, it has started recording. This is all on my end. Here we go. Again, good morning, Lawrence. Thank you for coming on the show, essentially. As I sent you a little highlight about who we are, but we are Mommy and Me Intergenerational Conversations. I'm the mommy in the team, aka Nyakalo. And me, aka Waratwa. Yes. So we're a mommy and daughter tag team. This is a way for me to try and spend more time with this youth in my life. But we're very excited to have you. Thank you so much for the time. We're nervous. This is our first interview, so congratulations.
Well, good morning, and thank you so much for having me. I think congratulations to you guys for such a beautiful, lifestyle, radio slot. Like mommy and me, I've never had that before, but I appreciate the efforts that you're trying to make in really bridging the intergenerational gap as we normally speak about it. So thank you so much for the opportunity.
Thank you. Thank you. All right. No, we're going to jump straight into it because you are a busy person, very busy. But starting off, we got the national results yesterday, actually the final results. How are you feeling? How is RISE feeling?
Ooh. So yes, we got the results yesterday, and look, I think I am so proud of South Africans, number one, right? South Africans who went out and decided that they're going to use their voice to go and decide a future for themselves, for their children, and decide that they actually do want a different kind of government, right? So I think I'm very much excited and very proud of those South Africans. But I'm also very proud of RISE Mzansi volunteers, field organizers, staff members, the National Leadership Collective as a whole. I'm very proud of the work that we've done. I am so happy. I won't lie to you, I'm so happy. 14 months into politics, and we already have 2 seats in parliament. And I think one in provincial as well. I think this is not a joke. You don't just start a political party today and be in parliament. And starting a political party is actually a lot of work because you really put in your time. I remember, I think in this past year, I've actually been to more provinces in a short space of time than I've ever been. I've went to all 9 provinces. I've been, I'm speaking to people. I've spoken to more people than I ever have in my life in this period.
Yeah.
And I think I'm just so excited, really. I won't lie to you, I'm so excited that we got to give South Africa a breath of fresh air in parliament with new leaders that are capable and ethical that will go and represent us. And this is only the beginning. The best is yet to come.
Oh, I love what you said. And I love how you said new leaders that are capable and ethical because our government needs that so much. Our country needs that. But yes, we'll get it. We're going to touch into what you said in addition to our question. But what I want to ask quickly, side note, how did you find the Free State? That is our hometown. We are Bloom girls. So how was the Free State?
Ooh, okay, so the Free State, I found it. It's a good province. It's a very beautiful province. I won't lie. I just don't remember which side of it was, but the side that I went to, okay, so I went to Maputo Chaba recently for elections. The people there the people there are good, man. The people there are nice people, and it's such a beautiful area. I mean, there's like mountains everywhere. But I think the disheartening thing, as always, is that the people are not taken care of. Like they do not have water. When we went to that community, we went there because they had water issues, right? And they did not have water for I think a long time. Water apparently, and they were alleging that water is only getting switched on now because elections are coming. But even if it's been switched on now, it's not consistently coming out. So you can see that there's actually a problem, basically, with the reservoirs there. But yeah, Free State is a very beautiful province. The second part of it that I went to, I'm not quite sure of it though. I'm not sure of that side of the province, but I know that it used to be a highly industrial area, right? I think you find a mix of different people there. I think there's people that speak Xhosa, there's people that speak Sesotho
Yeah.
there as well. I think Free State has been beautiful, man. Except that you guys don't have Ubers. There's no Ubers in Free State.
No. So I believe that like the Rainbow Nation exists in Free State. You find every ethnicity there.
Yeah.
So it's amazing. But the issues are real there. So I'm looking forward to seeing what RISE is going to do in the future years and just changing things. But that water issue has been persistent in that area for years. And there's a standing joke in the Free State that everything is going to work. And I think it's possibly a standing joke across the country. Everything is going to work before the election. Street lights will be on, roads will be perfect,
Mm.
garbage will be cleaned up, water will be turned on. And then 2 days after the election, it's like, oh, back to square one.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
no, thank you so much. Yes, ma'am. So, before we get into it, let's get to not oh, we're already into it. Let's get to know you a bit more. Can you tell us a bit about your background and what inspired you to become a youth leader in politics at such a young age? And I don't know, are we allowed to tell people how old you are?
I mean, you can. It's not a secret. It's out there.
You are 21 and you're in politics and you're making big moves. So how?
Yeah. Look, I get that quite a lot, right? But before I go and answer that, the standing joke that's in the Free State is a standing joke everywhere, like you said. I was
Yeah.
surprised with the Randburg. Randburg is filled with a lot of potholes, but right now we're driving smooth, right? In certain parts of the areas, we're driving smooth. And this is because we had a trust election. But
Yeah.
look, even Ivory Park too, I was surprised to see the biggest potholes been filled up. But I'm
Mm.
saying that because, well, I am Lawrence Manaka. I'm a 21-year-old, and I actually hail from Botlokwa, but, like lived in Ivory Park for a huge part of my life. That is starting in 2012 all the way until I finished my matric, which was in 2020. So all I've known really is, Ivory Park, because I get to mature in Ivory Park. And Ivory Park is a very disadvantaged community, one of the most disadvantaged communities there. When we're saying hunger is there and hunger is right, you see it really, in the
Mm.
communities such as Ivory Park. And everyone who grows up in Ivory Park has got one mission, and that one mission is to make it out of that area and go find a
Mm.
better living. And this is why, the journey and education was actually quite important and quite pivotal to me, because I understood that the only way that I was going to be able to go out of Ivory Park and find better life elsewhere that you see 15 and 20 minutes away from us in Midrand, Castle, is if I go to school. And I started investing heavily in school. And I want to say this before I even proceed. Unfortunately, for most young people that also from Ivory Park and other areas that are poverty stricken, that invested a lot of time in school, most of them could not make it out of the townships that they're from. And today
Yeah.
they find themselves, doing drugs because they've essentially lost hope about, getting, a better future in this country because one, the education system does not function the way that's supposed to function. Because when I was in Ivory Park, I went to a school where there was like 95 kids in grade 8, grade 9, and when you get to grade 10, it gets better. But the better is, like still 50 and more. So there's overcrowding.
Yeah.
You can't learn properly. But anyway, I grew up in Ivory Park. I joined the movement. No, I grew up in Ivory Park. I was very, grossed by what I was seeing in our school. Went to a mobile school, and then from there, I decided that we want, bricks, like a brick and mortar school in this institution. Mobilized my RCL that I was leading for the year, and then we shut down our school, and we got the MEC of Education to come to our school. That was Mr. Payenza Lusufi back then. But before he could come, we had to go to his office because he was not willing to come to us. We went to his office, went and we demanded him, and he came to our school. And from there, that's when I got in touch really with, the fact that if we stand up and say something about our problems and push, something can really be done. And I joined Equal Education, where I became a facilitator, speaking to education struggles. And, from there on, I just very much fell in love with the fact that we can mobilize people's power to bring change. Because young
Mhm.
people cannot vote, right? Young people cannot vote that are under the age of
Yes.
18, but they can do certain things that will influence their parents' vote. And equal education was one of those journeys for me, influencing our parents' vote by doing advocacy that will say that, by the way, we saw Michael Gomabe falling into a pit latrine and passing away. So was Luka Mketwa. And that could have been me, mommy. So this is what we were doing. And I then fell in love with
Yes.
that. And then I decided that I'm going to go to school, university, when I get into university, and do in like economics and political sciences. It's what I'm still studying right now. I'm going to be graduating next year. And I said, I'm going to do this so that I have a better equipped voice to amplify, what I know, what I've had, what I've seen. But
Mhm.
I essentially joined politics because I really wanted to restore the power back to the people, because I believe that our communities are not talking enough. And when the time comes, we sit back and then we just go cast our votes, and the politicians then get to decide what is going to happen, about our future. And civil society, for the longest time, and for other young people, is
Mhm.
still a space where we get to shape and influence government without being in the room, because we are not wanted in the room. We've not been wanted in the room. Hence, they have youth leagues for us. And this is why RISE Mzansi for me, because RISE Mzansi did not have a youth league, but RISE Mzansi is premised on the fact that
Yes.
everyone is equal. We must bridge the intergenerational gap like you're doing with this beautiful radio slot, and the fact that we need to restore people's power. It has to be about people, if anything, and not politicians. And I'm sorry for taking a long time to introduce myself, but that is me, basically,
No.
in a nutshell.
No, that is amazing. That is amazing. You've touched on so many vital points, but one thing I'm hoping that our youth are hearing, and you, ma'am, next to me, is that you need to start where you are, regardless of age, you need to start where you are. Um, youth need, the youth have that voice, and I love what you said about them encouraging and motivating their parents to go vote. Because ultimately, the decisions we're making now as adults affect them in their childhood and adulthood. So that is such vital nuggets of information. I have a question. What motivated you to join Rise Mzansi, and what do you hope to achieve through your involvement?
Yeah. So if I had the question correct, you said what motivated me to join Rise and Fancy, and what motivated me to.
What do you hope to achieve?
What do I hope to achieve? Okay, thank you so much for that question. I think so. What motivated me to join Rise and Zanzi really is like I was saying, the inception of Rise and Zanzi was an inception unlike any other, like political party inceptions. Number one, Rise and Zanzi did not break away from any existing political party because they were disgruntled to go form their thing at the side. But in November 2022, and I was part of the people that were in that room, civil society was brought together, communities of different people from business, people that are existing ordinarily in our communities were brought together in Gauteng, and I remember others remotely in different areas by Rivonia Circle. And in this room, really all that was being said was that we have for the longest time been trying to change the status quo. We've been the
Mm,
watchdog to government. We've been shouting at government. We've been saying, do this, do that. But no one here is standing up to get involved. And because of that, nothing is changing. And guess what? We believe that the ANC has actually killed our very own democracy as it stands. Because a lot of people have actually lost hope in voting, and you also see it in the voter turnout that we had just now, right? And from that room, we then decided that there must be rise in Nancy. And for me, the
mm,
fact that ordinary South Africans who are tired and genuinely tired said that we need something new. And it must not be about politicians. It must be about communities. It must be consultative. It must take the issues of people and let the people themselves lead those issues through this vehicle is what made me want to join Rise and Fancy. But
mm,
the last selling point for me was that we were just really just, like when you're looking at Rise and Fancy, it was very, like it was resonating with young people. Like for some very odd reason, political parties don't normally resonate with young people, right?
yes.
If they're resonating with young people half the time, it's because they are too radical and everything else. But this one was not radical in the sense that it will go shut down the school and all of that stuff, but
Mm,
in its thinking, in its language. And the language was so simple. It was the fact that the first one was that 2024 or 1994. That was a call to action to everyone, to all
yeah.
young people. And after they said 2024 or 1994, I was not there in 1994 to decide a government, but in 2024, I'm here to decide a government that I want. And then I took on the baton as well, and I said, I'm going to get involved. And I got involved, and I started mobilizing young people. And through the work that I was doing, they said that we've seen that you've governed at People Education as a deputy chairperson. We see that you're able to build structures. We're inviting you to actually come and be part of the people that are going to build this organization with us and help us get to this election and beyond. And I said, with that, I'm going to stand up and I'm going to raise my hand and get involved. And this is what made me want to join RISE Mzansi. This is what motivated me to join RISE Mzansi. And this is why RISE Mzansi. The fact that the messaging was simple, it was appealing to young people, but most importantly, it was for the people, by the people. Communities themselves were building it. Because I think in the last year, we've been to over 400 communities where we're just asking, what are the problems that we have? Sometimes, people think that when you go and you ask people what the problems we have, we politicking. But the truth is, I might come then ask you, what is the problem? And we see that, like the problem in this community is the street. But we might think that the problem is the street because there's no roads, there's less gravel. But frankly, people go to bed hungry. And if you don't ask them, you will not be able to know. And this is why the listening politics of Rise Mzansi was important. And this is why I chose Rise Mzansi. Listening, co-creating, building together, and bridging that intergenerational gap.
Thank you for that. So what does Youth Day mean to you personally, and how do you think its legacy impacts the youth of South Africa today, if I may ask?
Sorry, I could not catch the first part. What mean for me personally?
What does Youth Day mean to you personally,
yes.
and how?
No, continue, it's okay.
So, and how do you think its legacy impacts the youth of South Africa today?
Yeah. So Youth Day, for me, I think it's a very important day. That's number one. I always reflect about like the struggles of 1976. In 1976, young people like ourselves in high school and primary schools decided that we are tired of everything that is going on with the system the way it is. Even though we cannot cast that vote as yet, we will stand up and do something. So Youth Day to me is very important. Like it's very close to my heart because it's a signifier of what young people can do when they decide to come together, regardless of what they're subjected to in this country. Right now, there's about 6 out of 10 young people that are unemployed in this country, and if we decide to just stand up, and currently we are lucky because we've got a way to change that, which is to vote. Just stand up and choose a different kind of government. We will be able to get what we want. So Youth Day to me means, the agency. It means mobilizing, but it means people owning back their power. Because on that day, young people owned back their power, regardless of everything that was put before them, and they got involved. So I think the struggles of Youth Day are still very much here with us. Because you're seeing that 30 years into this democracy, the very same things that these young people are fighting for in and around, some of them still exist. Some of them still persist. So I think the struggle of the young people then is a struggle that we have today. They had an oppressor, an oppressor just happened to be in a different skin color. The oppressor just happened to be saying, different things to them. But today, our struggle is still the same. It's just that it has taken a different phase. So this is why the Youth Day is quite important to me. 1976 was very important, and look, it's unfortunate that a lot of people died, but I think it had to happen so that South Africans can actually own back their power. And I think, as young people, we just need to stand up. Look at what happened in 76. They did not wait. They did not wait. They stood up and they got involved. And this is the message that we're preaching to young people. The country is burning. This car is headed towards a cliff, and it needs people that are going to get inside it and drive it regardless of age. And I appreciate you being on the show right now and asking me those questions because you're proving precisely why young people can build, because you are building right now. You are asking critical questions and you are there and you're contributing with your mother. And guess what? You're also ensuring that these two generations actually get to feed off of each other, which is what we continue to lack in this system. And this is why youth involvement is quite important.
How can I get involved in how can I get involved in building in sorry, let me rephrase that. How can I
how can I get involved in helping make South Africa a better country than it is today?
Ah, man, look, you asking me such beautiful questions. And guess what? You're already involved, right? You're already involved in making South Africa a better place for all of us because we're here asking critical questions, speaking to different people of different ages, and different races as well. And you just want to learn and build with them and teach them as well. So how you get involved, really, number one, is to realize where you are, what you think needs to change, and how do you change that, right? And I'll give an example. Say I live in Ivory Park and I realize that in Ivory Park we do not have water. What do? I say, okay, we do not have water. I will not wait for my mother to come and go buy water because she does not have money to buy that water. What do I do? Maybe I'm going to speak to other young people around me to say, hey, how about we get ourselves together, write a petition to the government and then actually ask the government to give us water. So just like that, you are getting involved, just like that. Like a small thing. You don't have to go and, protest and everything else. Write that petition and, mobilize the community around it and then take the petition to the government. That's the first step towards getting involved. But as a person who's already of age and can vote, the first step is to do that, identify the problems in your communities, what is working quite well, how do you best contribute in your communities, and then if you need to petition certain things. If things are working, guide them and ensure that they continue to work. And then when you're of age and you can vote, go vote. That's the most important thing. Go choose who becomes your government for the next 5 years. Because if you do not do that, other people will go and choose the people that are going to represent them. And unfortunately, when you complain by then, it will be too late because you do not have the power to change them at that moment, except you have to wait for election, right? So when you get a
Mm.
chance to jump to it, do it, vote. And that's how you can get involved.
Okay, thank you. How do you think RISE Mzansi can address these challenges and create opportunities for the youth?
Yeah. So as RISE Mzansi, we have a plan. We have defined a plan to get young people jobs. We've defined a plan to get, people that are over the age of 35 and above jobs. And we said that the root cause analysis that everyone has been doing wrong is the fact that we actually just do need new leaders in South Africa. So we're saying that the first step is to go and get us new leaders who are going to represent us, new leaders like the ones we're going to be sending into parliament right now, to go and lobby for change. But to not just go lobby for change, to go be clean, to go ensure that they're accessible, to go ensure that they co-create and build with our communities, right? So what
Mm.
Rise and Fancy has done is that we said that if we are to get into government, the first thing that we'll do is to take the worst performing municipalities under administration and ensure that we actually work on them, get rid of the corrupt leadership, ensure that the system is fixed and is clean because the system did not corrupt itself. It's the people that corrupted the system. We are then going to ensure that because we believe that there's about 3 to 4% stuck between, like Transnet and Eskom, we are then going to look into fixing Eskom. Because, for example, if your radio station functions the best between 6 and 7, and it's a peak hour and you're making money then, but between 6 and 7 there's no electricity, you're losing
Mm.
out on money. You might have to fire certain people while you do not want to fire certain people so that you can make sure that the station is sustainable. But we're saying if we fix Eskom, if we fix Transnet, we will be able to get about 3 to 4% GDP growth per year because that is what is currently hindering our economy from growing. That means you're
Mm.
making the economy conducive, but while you're also making the economy conducive, you want to retrain young people and reskill them. Whether they have matric or not, we are saying that we need to retrain and reskill you and ensure that you actually have access to jobs that you're going to be creating. So you make the economy conducive, you fix the education crisis in South Africa, you will then go and get a job seekers grant, which says that, if you're looking for a job and you cannot afford to look for the job, we'll give you a certain amount of money. Currently, the cost of finding a job is 1.5, if I'm not mistaken. We'll give you something close to that, either in form of tickets or whatever form it may be, and then you'll go find a job.
Mm.
And when you find the job, that money gets trickled over to the next person. And just like that, you are building and you are building and you are building. And then ensuring that the economy is conducive by allowing business to take place, by allowing it to have competitors. You don't have a state-owned entity alone, but you have a state-owned entity with private, so that when Eskom's electricity is expensive, because they're a monopoly, you now have, like a different person that can also offer electricity at a much reasonable rate, and therefore the forces balance in the economy, and therefore you are able to create better and proper employment. So I'm sorry to give you a very long answer, but that's how I like to go a bit into detail, because I want people to realize that we actually have a plan, and we did not just sit and say this is the plan. We consulted with people, and people said this is how we think we can fix the problems that we have.
No, I'm loving this interview. I'm loving this interview. Again, thank you for your time. But I'm going to come in as a mother. I don't know how concerned your parents are, because I am having like mini palpitations on your behalf. You're a varsity student. You're in your second year, correct?
I'm in my third year.
You're in your third and final year. Yes.
Yes, third and final year.
You are the RISE Mzansi, what is this, Youth and Study Students chapter leader.
Yes.
You are traveling the country. There's elections happening. You are definitely not studying over the weekend. So how are you balancing school and this? I'm having a mini breakdown on your behalf.
Look, relax. Do not have a mini heart attack on my behalf. I have actually been finding different ways to cope and to manage, right? Like I said, I'm not just the youth and student chapters convener, and I'm doing this thing alone. I've got a team of incredible young people, a team of an incredible NLC, incredible organizers, and other students who've committed to this mission that are actually helping us do the work of organizing. And therefore, I spend 90% of my time organizing. But when I come back, you take that one shot of that energy drink, and you sit down and you study, and you continue moving. On other days, you just come back and you shower and you sleep a bit, and you wake up early in the morning and you study. And then you go back and you're saying, while I'm preparing for my future by studying, I'm going to go prepare for my future by making sure that we have the right leaders so that I can get hired. Because I can go get this degree, but if I do not have the right leaders to give me a job, I will not get a job. To ensure that I can create a business that is sustainable, I will not be able to create one. And if there's already 6 out of 10 young people that are unemployed, I could be the one that makes the 7 or the 8 or the 9 or the 10 out of 10 young people that are unemployed. And therefore, I've got no choice but to do both. And both is possible. It's very much possible.
No.
And I'm doing it. And I'm
no,
yes, and I was saying that I'm going to graduate and show that it's actually possible. Because I give an example. Our premier candidate in the Western Cape, Akoli Lenochwala, while he was organizing and doing all this work, he actually very much also graduated. And graduated very well. He did quite well. While I was also yes, sorry.
No, continue.
Oh, yes, so sorry. I was saying that while I was also organizing last year and everything else, I was also part of a fellowship called Future Elect, that is hosted by Usislindiwe Mazibuko and Dr. Sembile. It's a very long, expensive program that requires you to actually work on yourself, work on your leadership abilities, and just ensure that, you're learning more about ethical leadership, and you learn that the technical skills that are needed in parliament and legislature. And while I was doing that work, I was still at school, and I graduated that program as well quite well. So I think it's quite possible. We can do it when we put our minds to it. I think that's one thing. Discipline and putting our mind to it can get us far.
No, I love the word you ended off with, discipline. So it's what you're saying. It's a balancing act, and it's also choosing some things that right now I don't have time for this. I don't have 10 hours to Netflix and chill or TikTok and scroll. And it's just finding a balance. My daughter's rolling her eyes at me right now.
I feel like you're targeting this at me.
No, it's the youth in general, because I feel like and again, this is why we have this show. It's for me to better understand it, because I have my perception of what the youth is. The same way my parents had their perception of what I was as a youth at their age, and some of the things they had were wrong. But in my mind, it's like already the youth have it easier than what I had it. I have it easier than what my parents did. And because of this, I worry that they take it for granted. My daughter takes certain privileges for granted because this, and I say this to her all the time, there's so many out there that don't have constant electricity. Yes, we have load shedding, but when there's no load shedding, we have power. You don't need to study by candlelight. You don't need to go to the river to go get water. You don't need to do certain things. You have a roof, you have meals. It may not be sushi or a ribeye steak every night, but you have something that's going into your tummy and sustaining you. And
Yes.
I want her to understand, and her age mates and her circle to understand that you have these. Make the most of it so that you can make the future brighter for other people that don't. Um,
Yeah.
and that's with this thing that they have, where I'm coming into the discipline, it's because things are so easy. At least I feel they're easy. But again, that's why we're having these conversations. They have more time for social media and TikTok. But and one of the things I've been having a conversation with her about and her siblings and my nieces and nephews is, if TikTok and social media are not making money for you or not growing you, then I don't see why you're on there. You should be getting something out of, because then if you're just mindlessly scrolling, that's where depression comes in, because oh, the Jonases have it better than I do.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
but thank you so much for what you said. All
So,
right, so I
thank you
know we
so much.
have just a bit more of, sorry, say again.
No, I was saying, no, no, thank you so much. I was thanking you as well.
Okay. So just to quickly, the last few things. What is your vision for the future of South Africa, particularly its young people and yourself? You've touched on it a little bit. And what are you've mentioned a few with the questions she asked previously, but how can young people contribute to a better future for the country? And what role does your party play in this vision for a better future? So you did touch on it a little bit. So you can just answer the parts that you feel you might have missed out on.
Yeah. So my vision for this country, and it's not mine alone now, it's a collective vision now. It's a safe, equal, prosperous, and united South Africa in one generation, in just 30 years, because we think it's very much possible. I believe that it's very much possible. And I think my vision for young people in this country is that they need to be, one, employable. We need to ensure that young people in this country are employable. And for them to be employable, we need to ensure that we're giving them the right skills, we are upskilling them properly. So I wish and I yearn for a South Africa where everyone really has the basics, and all they're doing is building from those basics. You were mentioning some of the privileges that, sometimes we have without acknowledging that we really have them, because we don't see them as a privilege, we see it as a bare minimum. I want young people in this country to not know what load shedding is, to not know what looking for a job for 35 years and not finding is, because they have a government that cares for them, that will have created, a system and an economy that is conducive for them. So my vision is a South Africa that works really, a South Africa that is able to retain talent, because talent leaves our shores. As soon as you become a hit song maker, you leave our shores, because there's no money here for you, because the industry is not properly regulated. The industry does not make sure that you get your returns back. So, you feel as if you don't have a job, but you're an artist and you're making money, you can't secure a loan. So my vision is that we must have a South Africa that is functional for young people, but for our mamas and daddies as well, but to also ensure that it's also functional for our grannies as well, because maybe we'll be grannies by then, I don't know. But it has to be very much, functional. It has to, be able to take young people in. And how young people can get involved, number one, and like I said, I feel like it's quite simple. Let's start questioning what is working, what do I have, what do I not have, how do I contribute to me having it and other people having it. If you have your lunch box and you know there's someone who does not have it, maybe share a portion of it with someone that you know they really do not have it. That is us trying to change the world one person at a time. So basically, young people can get involved really by just being aware of their situations, by upskilling themselves, most importantly. We understand education is the core and the bare minimum, but there's so many other people that we can learn out there that are soft skills, some are technical skills that can help us when we go find a job in this economy, but that can also help us contribute very much. You've already started this very beautiful platform, and I think this very beautiful platform was is going to educate a lot more young people. That's how you get involved. You get involved by realizing what is working, what's not working, and how do I actually ensure that I make it work, or how do I actually ensure that I sustain it. But most importantly, let's start having conversations amongst each other. Voting is a group project. And if we do not show up to this group project, we are going to fail. It's not at university where there's one person who does the work and the rest of us are just seated. It does not work like that, because that one person who did the job is going to get the marks, and the marks that they get will have to be very much comfortable with them. So we also get involved by ensuring that as soon as we're 16, we register to vote. And then when we're 18, we go vote. But meanwhile, we have conversations about who to vote for. Because it's not a taboo to have conversations about who do we like. It's not a taboo to have conversations about who's most likely to carry out our problems and ensure that this country is sustainable. That's how we get involved as young people.
Oh, that's amazing. So just to confirm, so you can start registering to vote when you're 16.
When you're 16, you can go register to vote and be on the voters roll. When you're 18, go make that mark. Go make that mark.
So you get to register next year.
Ah.
Okay. I learned something new today. Wow. All right. And then to almost wrap up, how can we encourage more young people to get involved in politics and civic engagement? So you did touch on it about them knowing what is aware, what is needed. But for example, right now, let's say listeners, the youth, my daughter, her friends want to join, particularly RISE Mzansi or any other political party of their choosing, because it is your right. How can you encourage them to do so, and how can they do so? And what initiatives or programs does RISE Mzansi have to support youth participation in leadership? And I'm thinking specifically because she is less than 60, those younger than 18, because I honestly believe that we, as you said, these youth, sorry, not these kids, these youth need to start having the conversations before they're 18, that when they're 18, they're more fluid with it. They understand what they're talking about, and it's not a whole new concept. It's more aware. So how can we do that? How can you as RISE Mzansi do that?
Yeah. So I think the first thing, and I normally say this to a lot of young people, is that what we need to first do is to realize that our country is not working the way it's supposed to work. I don't think this is the democracy that people died for 30 years ago. And because of that, we need to have the agency to do something. If you are going to school and you know that your parents spend half of their salaries or 40% of their salaries getting to work and getting you to school, if you know that there's a child that still lives in a shack somewhere in Ivory Park and they do not have the same access as you, and you know that when you go to university you're going to be a missing middle because you cannot afford fees, we need to start thinking about who is best to take us out of this mess. There's not going to be a messiah that is going to save us, but there's going to be us talking to each other that is going to ensure that we actually get a government that we need. And as RISE Mzansi, we go around starting these conversations at institutions of higher learning, at high schools as well, and saying that young people, this is what we are faced with, a government that is not working. But what we are also faced with is a lack of speaking to each other in communities about the problems that we have, and therefore everyone just thinks it's a problem alone to deal with. Well, we can collectively deal with these problems, right? So we're speaking to young people, we're creating platforms where young people can speak to us about their problems, and we are actually ensuring that we're teaching them, we're giving them the political education that is very, very much necessary, but not just the political education that is very much necessary, but we're trying to find different mechanisms to invest in different sectors. Over the course of our campaigning, we've spoken to different sectors, and from the different sectors, we gathered what is wrong. We spoke to people with small businesses, and we gathered how do we best assist and help them. And we want to create programs out of the different, sectors that we've spoken to that are going to try and upskill young people and prepare them basically for work. That's number one. But also prepare them to actually just, be citizens that are very much aware, responsible, and are alive to the realities of this country.
Thank you for that, Evie. I feel like with what you said about lack of community, right? I really understood that because now, for me nowadays, with our communication as the youth, we're usually talking about the latest thing which isn't really relevant and which won't really help South Africa as it is. And I'm really grateful that you picked out the topic about, like, talking about problems that we're facing in our communities together as a whole.
Thank you so much. Look, we need to speak about those problems that we are facing in our communities as a whole. But maybe for us as a young generation, maybe the speaking is not so physical. Maybe it's speaking through like platforms such as the different platforms that we are using right now. But the point is, we just need to start speaking about. Look, it's all fun and good, but I'm gonna be grown. You're 16 next year, and that means you're going to be facing more harsher realities that other young people are facing. That like women and ladies are facing in this country. How do I protect myself from that before I get to that age? And we start by speaking to each other. But thank you so much for that.
Martha. And to finish this with just one more question.
Actually, two more.
Two
I
more.
have one more. You can continue.
With my last question. Sorry, mommy. What are three things that the youth below 18 can do in preparing for 2026 elections?
Ooh, I love that one. Caught me completely off guard. But let me tell you, the first thing, and I've been saying this over and over again because for me it's the highlight, right? The first thing is let's have conversations. In the bus to school, let's talk. At the shopping centers, let's talk. But number two, let's start identifying who do we think, and let's watch them very carefully. Who's speaking about the things that I want? Who's speaking about the things that are benefiting my communities? And who is acting those things out and not just speaking about them? Because there's a difference between people just speaking and being very populist about messaging, but and there's also people that actually go and act out and leave out these things that we continue, like to see in our communities, or leave out what they say they're going to do. So those are some of the things that young people can start doing. Have conversations. Number one, that's quite important. That's how most people got to where they are. They were having conversations, but scouting out for who is actually speaking to the problems that we have, who is actually leaving out what they said they're going to go and leave out. And I think number three, before you decide, on what is going to be happening at local in 2026, ask yourself, do I think I can be the person that is going to stand up and get involved and change this? Because the truth is, the country needs you, and it needs you to get started now. It needs you to get involved now. It needs you to raise your hand. Because in 2026, I want to vote for Orato. I want to vote for other young Lawrences out there and other young people out there that are saying that I've seen the problems and I want to get involved and I think I can create better. So it's let's have conversations about what is going on. Let us scout out who do we think is going to put our problems on the ballot and fix them. And then the last thing really is let us raise our hands to get involved in the politics. The politics have been deemed to be dirty, but politics does not have to be dirty when you are going there and all you want is to be ethical, accountable, and you are willing to work with communities.
No, thank you so much. This has been an amazing morning. So we have something we call in part of our radio, we call it an intergenerational life lesson. So I know you've dropped a lot of gems already. So just to give you a background of what intergenerational life lesson is, this segment of the show is sharing personal antidotes or stories that show valuable life lessons, offering listeners practical insights they can apply to their own lives. So that's a little piece of our show. And we like to give this to different people to share that we have intergenerational life lessons. So do you have an intergenerational life lesson for us to share?
An intergenerational life lesson for me to share. When you're saying this, my mind started racing and I'm just trying to think, what can I share? But I think for me, I think what I need to share is I think just being sure with yourself is actually quite important in this world where we almost look like we are lacking certain things, where we lack certain things, and because we lack certain things, we then also like we start depriving ourselves emotionally and like spiritually, and that normally leads to depression for a lot of young people. So I think a life lesson that I'm learning and that I've learned and I continue to learn is that you just need to be sure in yourself. I don't think I knew what I was doing when I decided that I would, like, when I started writing about the problems that I had in the community and writing poems about them and stories in my mini book, the Glenn Bear's book, and then I don't know. I don't think I knew what I was doing. I don't think I really comprehended what I was really doing when I raised my hand and I said, elect me to be RCL president. And then we shut down that school and we forced the MEC to come. And later on, by the way, and I forgot to share this, the minister herself came to our school, but the school is still the same. This shows lack of political will. But yeah, I think, just try to be sure with yourself. The world is not always going to be easy. Things are not always going to work out the way you want them to work out. But if you are sure with yourself, you understand that we are meant to make mistakes. We are meant to go and learn from mistakes and then build better. What matters is that we keep going, because when it's all said and done, it's not going to be the physical things that we have acquired, but it's going to be what we show with ourselves and are we content with ourselves. And if you can start building that inside you, it's going to be easy for you to navigate this world. It might not be that easy, but you have a head start. You're sure with yourself. You will not be pushed towards doing things that you don't want to do because you are sure with yourself. Yeah.
Oh, thank you so much,
Thank you.
Mr. Lawrence Manaka. It has been an amazing morning. We are grateful for your time. You are giving me hope. I'm inspired. I'm inspired.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I am very much inspired by Mommy and me. Thank you for this beautiful show that you guys have. And I hope that it continues to pour into the lives of young people. You continue to try and like have this intergenerational conversations. You guys are going to change the world. I don't know if you guys realize it, but Mr. Songez, as he always says, that he does not know that we know or we knew that we're actually making history, or we are actually making history at the time that we are in. These conversations that you're having are reaching so many people out there, and I hope it does not only end with conversations. We go and translate this into the world so that we can continue to write history, because history one day will write about Nyakalo and Oratwa. It will write about RISE Mzansi and many other political parties that chose to get involved when it was not feasible, or when it was not like fashionable to do so.
Thank you. Anything you want to say now?
Um, no, but I'd also like to thank you for also joining us. Today is a very cold day, so when my mom tried to wake me up, it was very hard for me to get up. Oh,
But no, she's here. She showed up. And even though you were driving, we are grateful. And yes, continue rising for the people, by the people. We are honored.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. And I'm actually now at the office. I'm just going to go have this meeting and continue building forth. Thank you so much, guys. And continue to wake up when your mommy wakes you up, okay? It's important that you wake up and come have these beautiful conversations with us. Thank you so much for your knowledge and your conversations. You are such a smart young lady. And, like, man, just keep doing what you're doing. And thank you so much, mommy, for doing this for her and being with on this journey. I know it's going to be the greatest one, and you're going to thank yourself. Thank you so much.
Thank you. It's an honor. Have a lovely day.
Same to you, and bye.
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 We did it.
Our first interview. Oh,
Still recording. Let's end the recording. Thank you, guys.
you're not sending it to anyone, right?
Station.
Huh?
All right. Technology. How do I stop the recording? Stop.